people were killed and at least 12 injured after a dust storm led to multiple crashes Tuesday, this is in late October, on Interstate 10 between Phoenix and Tucson. Now, there were 19 vehicles, 10 commercial vehicles, 7 passenger cars, 1 tanker and 1 recreational vehicle. Just a chain reaction south of Casa Grande, just in the dust. Now, it shows that several cars and tractor-trailer smashed into each other near Picacho Peak, just sandwiched between 2 big 18-wheelers and others were wedged under the big rigs.
Slow down. Come to a creek. Pull over the side of the road, turn your lights off.
And you said you did that?
Yes, sir. But them trucks pushed them over to off the side of the road.
It was these low-level storms that the National Weather Service can't detect. And so you can have someone who can be the first into the dust event and, like you said, do everything right. The problem is it's the second and the third and the fourth to go in the dust event who think, it's just a wall of dust, I'll be fine, I can get right through it. And they don't realize that there's something in the middle there.
Manatees are dying at record rates in Florida. 769 have died thus far. Now, toxic algae blooms that deplete the water of essential oxygen are killing a record number of manatees in Florida, biologists say. Total of 769 manatees have died, making 2013 the deadliest year ever. That's terrible. Now, this next one is pretty sickening. The president of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, publicly executed 80 people for reading Bibles and watching television. Now, it's perhaps the most secretive, secluded country on the planet, and it states, this was in August, that they were killed for, they called it violating pornography laws. Now, 8 people, their heads covered with white bags, were tied to stakes at a local stadium in the city of Wonsan before authorities then shot with a machine gun. Now, this was done in about 10 cities with crowds of about 10,000 people, including children, being forced to watch them. And all they did was read a Bible or watch television. 3rd of November, an earthquake strikes off Tonga. A strong earthquake has struck off Tonga this morning, the US Geological Survey reported. The shallow 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit about 345 kilometres, that's just over 220 miles, northeast of Nuku'alofa, the capital of Tonga, at 7:53. The quake was followed by a 5.4 magnitude aftershock, but no threat of tsunami. Philippines, on Friday, November the 8th, Typhoon Yolanda, Hainan left almost 4,000 people dead and 1,500 missing in Tacloban City, in Leyte and surrounding areas. Storm surges more than 10 feet had pounded the area and nearly 800,000 people were forced to flee their homes, and damage was believed to be extensive. About 4 million people were affected by the typhoon. The scenes were reminiscent of tsunami damage, shocking, affecting a population of about 220,000 people. Homes were destroyed, piles of splintered wood lying on concrete slabs. Almost all the trees and electric posts were torn down while the cars were overturned. Weather officials said Yolanda had sustained winds of 235 kilometres per hour with gusts of 275. It's roughly about 180 miles per hour. But surely a terrible, terrible disaster. Here's another shocker. A floating island of debris the size of Texas has crossed the vast Pacific Ocean to the western shores of the Americas since the devastating tsunami inundated Japan in 2011, says a new study. 5 million tonnes of wreckage, the remains of homes, boats and other remnants of shattered lives in eastern Japan, were swallowed by the ocean that day in March, and more than 1 million tonnes of the flotsam continues to head towards the west coast. Hundreds of dead sea turtles have been found washed up ashore on the Central American coastline. Now, hundreds of sea turtles are washing up dead. The scientists hypothesize that the killer is a potent neurotoxin that can be produced by algae during red tides. The puzzling thing, though, is that the red tides have come and gone before without taking such a deadly toll on turtles. November the 12th, on the Philippine island of Bohol, a 4.8 magnitude earthquake, they believe it's an aftershock of the one that hit about a week before, hit the island, and the epicenter was in the San Isidro municipality of the island. It was located some 45 kilometres from Tagbilaran, the provincial capital that has almost 100,000 residents. Also on November the 12th, a 6.6 magnitude quake hit off the east coast of Russia near Kamchatka, the US Geological Survey reported. It said that the quake hit about 170 kilometres, that's about 100 miles off the Kamchatka Peninsula, at a depth of 47 kilometres, that's 33 miles. Now in Somalia, a rare tropical cyclone, it's very slow moving, pounded the Somalia coast, killing 100 people and devastating coastal communities. The tropical storm, designated Tropical Cyclone 03A, made landfall north of Isle in the Puntland state, a semi-autonomous region that typically receives less than 10 inches, 25 centimetres of rain every year. The Puntland government said preliminary information indicates that homes, buildings, boats and entire villages have been destroyed and more than 100,000 livestock lost, endangering the livelihoods of tens of thousands of local people. Scientists have discovered another cause of bee deaths, and it's not good news. They've struggled to find the trigger for so-called colony collapse disorder that has wiped out an estimated 10 million beehives over the past 6 years. Suspects have included pesticides, disease-bearing parasites and poor nutrition. But they've identified a witch's brew of pesticides and fungicides contaminating pollen that bees collect to feed their hives. The researchers discovered that bees that ate pollen with fungicide were 3 times more likely to be infected by the parasite. The discovery means that fungicides thought harmless to bees is actually a significant part of colony collapse disorder. And listen to this, 1/4 of the American diet, from apples to cherries to watermelons to onions, depends on pollination by honeybees. Fewer bees means smaller harvests and higher food prices. So that's not good news. Now, there's a ticking time bomb in Louisiana. The 25-acre sinkhole is bringing mini earthquakes and explosion fears. And it's 25 acres and 350 feet deep. It opened up on August 2012 when the wall of a subterranean salt mine collapsed and the ground above it was seemingly swallowed by the earth. It is since filled with water. Great Britain has 100 days of very heavy snow, and they're now facing their worst winter in 60 years, warns forecasters. Long-range weather forecasters have warned that Britain should prepare for heavy and persistent snow for up to 3 months, with winter 2013 set to be the worst in almost 60 years and possibly on record. Schools, banks and Bitcoin are now turning towards biometrics as a way of identification to get your money out of the electronic banking system. The Bank of America has pushed through a patent application which describes a biometric ATM system. Now, palm scanning devices, parents are outraged over palm scanning devices in the Puyallup lunchrooms in Puyallup, Washington. The school district says that by the end of the year, every lunchroom will have a a palm scanning device that will allow students to pay for the lunch with a wave of a hand. The district says that the devices will be in all 32 schools by the end of the school year. Cashless society right around the corner. The world's first Bitcoin ATM opened Tuesday in Vancouver, Canada. On the 30th, it dispensed hard money in exchange for the anonymous cryptocurrency through a palm scan security system. Biometrics. It's a very, very convenient and very effective way to cut off those from buying and selling who are not obedient to the authorities in the implementation of a certain mark of the beast.
Scientists, we can't do anything about the antibiotic-resistant superbugs that will soon kill millions of us. The wonder drugs that we have been using since the middle of the last century are rapidly losing their effectiveness, and medical authorities are warning that the emergence of very powerful antibiotic-resistant superbugs represents one of the gravest threats in the history of medicine. Of course, the wonder drugs that I am talking about are known today as antibiotics. In fact, no new classes of antibiotics have been invented since 1987, and none are being developed right now. Meanwhile, scientists are telling us that many current antibiotic treatments will be completely obsolete by the year 2030. Drug-resistant superbugs represent one of the gravest threats in the history of medicine. Leading experts have warned routine operations could become deadly in the very near future as bacteria evolve to resist the drugs we use to combat them. This process could erase a century of medical advances, say government doctors in a special editorial in the Lancet Health Journal.